How to negotiate in 2021. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Andrea Eppolito, and I am here celebrating life, luxury, and above all else, love. I have consistently asked on all of my social platforms, what is it that you want to learn about? And whether you are a couple or a client that is interested in working with a wedding and event professional, or if you are another creative just looking for tips and tricks on how to do better business, if you are somebody who loves all things life, luxury, and love, fashion, travel, all of it, you are in the right place. And I am currently going through and answering questions in my DMs. So I got something today, and someone said to me, "You talk a lot about negotiations. Can you give us some tips on how to negotiate going in to 2021?" I actually love this topic. I love negotiations because, in so many ways, it feels like a game, and I think it's fun. But I also think that the idea of negotiating has gotten a really bad rap, and people have given it like this terrible thing that it's shady or it's sneaky or it's disingenuous, and I don't think that that's it at all. So I read a book called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating Like Your Life Depended on It. I am going to put the link to that book in the notes below because I think it's one of the most meaningful books that you can possibly read. And I'm going to take you through some of the things that I try to remember and that I use when I am negotiating, whether that is with a client, a prospective partner, or one of the businesses that I consult with. So step number one is we reframe the idea of negotiations being bad. We don't think about it as a win or lose exercise. Instead, I approach the idea of negotiating as an exercise in understanding. Many times we're looking at things and saying winning or losing, or I want something that someone else doesn't want to give me. That's not what we're doing here. When you set forth to negotiate with somebody, the reality is your job is to be the person at the table that understands the situation better than anyone else. That means that your job is to be an expert at whatever it is that the other party wants and needs, because you're already an expert on who you are, what your business does, what you want and need. So when you sit down, you are not thinking about this as a win-lose. You're looking at this as an opportunity to learn. So how do you do that? Step two, we go into something called active listening. This is about going deeper and deeper and constantly asking questions to understand the root why that somebody has. So somebody says, "I would love to talk to you about planning my wedding." That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you so much. What drew you to my work? "I really loved this one wedding that you did. It was all green and it was so much color and it was really deep and it really just spoke to me." Really, the green wedding spoke to you. "I love that wedding. Why did it speak to you?" "Well, I really love the outdoors." "So if you love the outdoors, why come to Vegas and go to a ballroom?" "Well, because I think that as much as I love the outdoors with my family and my friends and all those things, I don't want to have to worry about the elements." So you see how every time you get an answer, you respond with a question. And the question can't be a yes or no. You have to be actively listening and asking the right questions so that you understand where your counterpart is coming from. Step three, while you're doing the Q&A and you're going through, I'm going to sneeze. That was terrible. I don't know if I'm going to leave that or cut it, but I'm so sorry. As we go through this negotiation and you are doing your Q&A and you're actively listening, what your step three is to start mirroring your counterpart in behavior, language, and style. Because once you understand where somebody is coming from, you can position yourself to respond in a way that makes it feel as if you are already aligned with them. You're not thinking about yourself as an adversary. You're trying to create a feeling where you are a team, where you so fully understand who your other person is, who the counterpart is, and that you are working with them to get them what they want. This is also about protecting your own goals. Don't rush this process. Repeat everything that your client said to you last. So that's why I want to be in a ballroom. Okay, great, in a ballroom. Because that encourages them to say more. It creates this subconscious thread that you are sharing the same thought, and it inspires them to fill in the gaps with additional information. This is where you're coming together, that when they lean in, you lean in. That when they sit back, you sit back. That if they use a certain word, you use the same word or a word that means the same thing. Why? Because this creates the idea that you are together and that you are aligned. But this is not about being sneaky or inauthentic. It's not about tricking anyone. Everybody wants you to be empathetic and they want you to have authenticity. But if you start pretending that you understand someone's pain when you don't, the deal is done. You cannot fake it till you make it in this particular case. And so instead of trying to do that, what you should do instead is take this problem, take this thing, the pain point that they have that is stopping you from moving the negotiation forward. Name it and put it to the side. So a great example for right now would be, I hear you telling me that you're afraid to move forward because nobody knows what the future of COVID is going to bring. And I want you to know that I respect that. So together, let's look at the fear and figure out what we could do to work around it. Now, it's not that they're afraid and you're trying to force them to move through it or to get over it. Now the fear is a different thing. It's no longer between you. It lets you get closer so that the two of you together recognize and acknowledge the obstacle and are working as a joint team in order to move around it or above it, however it is that you need to get through that. So when you're doing this and you're removing the idea of winners and losers, you start moving through. You've got the problem, it's off to the side, you're coming together, and there is typically going to be another sticking point. Maybe it's a client that wants a service that you typically don't offer, in which case you could say, for that service, I would typically charge this. However, in this particular situation, I would also need you to agree to that. So nobody wants to come in and feel cheap. Nobody wants to feel like they've been taken. No vendor or professional wants to feel like they were beaten up. But sometimes, in order to get to the place that you really want, you need to be willing to walk away from the problem and go back to the beginning. So if you are someplace and you're stuck, if you find that you're locked in a battle of wills and you can't move forward, at that point, stop the conversation and shake things up a little bit by saying, you know what, let's table this for a minute, because it's not just about how much this package costs. I want to talk about what really drew you to me in the beginning and figure out how we can go back to that. I understand that you really want these engagement photos and that they matter to you, but let's talk about why doing them in this place means so much. What you want to do is you want to back off the problem and you want to go back to what brought you together as a team in the beginning. You want to re-engage your counterparts. Why? And you want to get them excited again about the process, excited again about the fact that you guys are a team. And then you can look back once more at the fear, the price, the availability, whatever the obstacle is. But whenever you are hitting a line, you want to go back and say, what brought us here in the very beginning? And if you've done all of that and you are still unable to get to a place of yes, If you have asked them questions and you can't get affirmative answers, if you've asked them to make a commitment and they're unable to commit to you, then at times you do need to understand that to do your best work, you have to work with the right client and the right teams. And so do not be afraid to walk away from the table. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? As much as we both want this, I just believe that we are not a good fit for one another. I really wish we were. I hear you when you say that you want this from me. Please understand that I can't do my best work underneath those circumstances, but I want you to have the best experience possible. And so instead, let's do this. Let me refer you to a place that can give you the experience that you want. Now, why do you do this? Because you want to end every relationship with the same amount of respect that you started it with. And so just because you are unable to work together on this project in these circumstances under this time doesn't mean that you shouldn't work together at all, doesn't mean that the respect or the admiration isn't still there, and it doesn't mean that there's not going to be an opportunity in the future. So maintain your professionalism, maintain your cool, help this person who liked your work enough to reach out in the first place, help them move forward to find the right fit while you're also protecting your business and you're closing out the negotiation in a way that you can feel really, really good about. Remember that negotiation is never about a winner and a loser. It is always about two people who want the same thing, finding a win-win in a way that gives them both the best experience possible. That is your job as a negotiator. That is your job as a business owner, as a person, and as a creative and a client. So I hope that this was helpful. Please, please, please get the book. Watch the masterclass. It is absolutely life-changing. You are going to love it. There is a link below so that you can go and you can grab that book. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Until then, thank you for spending your day with me, celebrating life luxury, and above all else, love. We'll talk again soon.